Good morning, sports fans. This is George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service. And this tutorial is on CT Scruffy Nymph in 60-degree jig. Using, it's a standard gap, standard shank, 60-degree jig hook. Here I'm using a Montana Fly Company 7203. The head is a slotted tungsten black bead to fit the hook. Thread is Danville Fly Master in 70D fluorescent orange. The tail, I'm using goose biots from Nature Spirit in olive. The body is Hareline Plus dark dub. It's HET2. And the rib is UTC Ultra Wire Gold and BR. The collar is Hare's Ear Plus dubbing on a dubbing loop. So we'll get started on this. First off, we're going to peg the bead. So get your bead on the hook, get tied in. And I'm using 0.03 lead to peg the bead. And that just means I'm going to slide this little piece of lead wire up inside the bead on top of the hook. And then I'm going to wrap forward and wrap back. And then break that wire off. And that pegging the bead secures it so it doesn't move around. That's one technique. There's others that don't peg their beads. Well, that didn't go according to plan at all. Sometimes that happens. You just got to recover it. There we go. And then I'm going to paint that with head cement. And let that sit off to cure. Once it's cured, it looks like this. So I'm going to get tied in. I'm going to run my thread back to just before the top of the bend. And then I'm going to put a little dubbing ball. Doesn't have to be a big dubbing ball. Don't get carried away with it. Just put 3/4 of an inch or so of dubbing on your thread and just wrap it right on top of itself so you get this little dubbing ball. And you put your goose biots on, and the dubbing ball will keep them separated. I'm using the shorter biots from the bottom of the biot feather. You don't necessarily have to, because it's fly tying and there are no have-tos. I just like to. In this particular case, I think it gives me a better look. Although they are a little more challenging to manage. Slide your biot on there. And you gotta pull them and kind of move them around. Gotta account for the thread material slippage, as if thread will pull on it and pull it out of place. There we go. Next is your gold wire. I'm going to put that in so it ends up on the far side of the hook, because you're going to counter wrap it. Now your dubbing. You don't want to put your dubbing on real heavy, just little wisps. Spin it on the thread. Remember, it's easier to put more on than it is to take any of it off. You want to back that dubbing all the way to the back, trying to butt up against that dubbing ball, and then build yourself a tapered body. A little more here. Maybe a little more than that. Make sure you allow yourself a place to tie your wire off. A couple of half hitches. Spin your bobbin cradle over. Get your wire on in open spirals. You should get 3 or 4 turns for the length of the body. And then try to helicopter that off. Sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate at this size. Now, I don't want to cooperate. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So try to helicopter it, and if that doesn't work, clip it with an old pair of scissors. There we go. Now we're going to do our dubbing loop. Take some beeswax. Make your dubbing loop. I've got a loop spinner here. I'll put that in there, but I'm still going to keep my finger tip in the bottom of the dubbing loop. Take a couple of wisps. I'll let my dubbing loop close, but before I spin it, I'm going to move it. I'm going to move the dubbing up towards the hook, up towards the head. Then give it a spin. And I use my hackle pliers on the loop. Cut that excess off. That way I can manage this a little better. And just pull those fibers back as you turn them on. And you're going to do a wet whip with some UV resin. Hit that with your light. And you're going to take your little bore brush, just kind of scruff that up a little bit. There you go. And there you have it. The CT Scruffy Nymph on a 60-degree jig hook. Excuse me. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can find this and other tutorials on here and on my website at www.custom-tied.com. That's CUSTOM-TIED.com. Have a splash, don't forget the dash. Happy tying.